Hey guys, Saf here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today we're going to be looking at bombs, and more specifically about whether bombs really have a place in Arena. Now, the video is going to kind of highlight some of the issues that you have in terms of building a bomb. I'm going to build what I think is the best potential bomb team with what I have, and we'll kind of highlight the problems that you will face. So the thing about bombs, and the reason why it's a bit of a topic now, is over the past couple of months, Playroom have kind of introduced game mechanics which has forced us to almost reconsider the sort of line that we hold, which is bombs are useless. First we had Bommel. Bommel was an extremely hard boss, and they put this mechanism in place where if you place a bomb on him, he takes initially 200%. I think they increased it to 300%. There is a video of Hellhades basically blowing up Bommel in one hit with his Astroliths, which is quite fun. I'll pin it in the link above. But unless you have very specific duplicates of specific champions, normally that strategy fails and you always fall back. So it didn't really make a big enough difference for us to suddenly go, let's get on the bomb hype train. But in the release of Hydra, they added a new artifact set called Stoneskin, and this has kind of made the question again, should we be considering bombs? So what is Stoneskin? I've got a Suga Warcaller, who is probably a very good candidate for Stoneskin, in 6 pieces of Stoneskin. These pieces could be as useless as you want them to be. Like, I've got attack percentage, doesn't really do anything. I've got HP percentage, that's a pretty good piece. But again, like, I've just got any pieces. There's a speed piece there. I've got a defense percentage chest, which is good, but it's not really fast. And then a crit rate, which is kind of pointless really. It's not really worth being crit rate. I've just thrown 6 pieces on, and her base stats kind of carry her through because she's got an insane level of base stats. But you could have the worst Stoneskin set in the world, but what you want is the 4th or ideally the 6th pieces of Stoneskin. It's a variable set, so what you get essentially at 4 is 1 turn of Stoneskin with a 50% chance that it can be removed. Or if you go for the 6 pieces, which I highly recommend if you are looking to build a Stoneskin champion, 2 turns. Let me take this into an arena battle and show you the power essentially of what Stoneskin can do. Let's just find a team. So we kind of want a team, like this team here is a great option. So I'm just going to use this team that I have here. My Duchess is still being built. I pulled her a couple of weeks ago, still working through it. And then we just got Brogni and Mountain King to kind of take a hit. So the idea is we know we're not going to go first as a hegemon, but we want to try and survive and then do something. So I'm going to start the battle. Now you'll see the Stoneskin animation come straight onto Asuga at the start, and what this basically means now is Stoneskin has made her completely immune to every combat effect. Debuffs cannot land apart from bombs. She only takes 85% damage. She only takes 15% damage. 85% is reduced. It means that until this buff is removed, Asuga is basically invincible. Now whether or not she's able to keep the rest of the team alive is a question. So obviously she will absorb 30% of everyone's damage before it actually applies, which means when it goes through into Stoneskin, 30% of everyone's damage is reduced by down to 15%. It's kind of really strong. Now I got a feeling I'll lose this anyway because it's not a properly put together team, and Trunda Power is Trunda Power and there's Lydia. But you can see here how she's still got Stoneskin. She's still unkillable essentially. Until that Stoneskin gets removed, and there's a 50% chance you can buff strip, that Stoneskin is going to live. Like, I'm going to lose this battle anyway because it's Trunda. However, this is just an idea to show you that full HP, until that goes, she's fine. That's what Stoneskin does. Now, if you have a proper team on a go second here, maybe like on, specifically on arena defense with maybe a Wither, a Duchess, this becomes incredibly hard because unless you actually stop the champions getting a turn, which is normally how you beat some of these stall defenses, you kill them instantly. Like, this is stopping you from doing that. So the thing with Stoneskin was, there is a condition on anyone under a Stoneskin buff that they will take 300% more damage when debuffed with a bomb. So instantly you can see the narrative here. If you bring Stoneskin, the counter to Stoneskin is bombs. Now the problem is you don't really know whether a champion has got Stoneskin when you go into battle, so you're kind of hedging your bets. And a Stoneskin champion, and a bomb champion, forces you into very specific decisions that you can't really counteract if you don't essentially meet the conditions you're expecting. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to basically build a bomb team and see what we can come up with to try and build an arena team that deals with all the issues. So the first question that comes to our mind when we're looking to build this team is, what bomb champion do I use? So by default, a bomb has a multiplier of 5, and then there are currently only 14 individual effects, so not necessarily champions, but individual skill components that will place a bomb. So we are talking out of several, I think there's about 2,000 plus effects, we've only got 14 that can apply a bomb, so we're already limited in choices. If an effect, however, has a custom multiplier, it means that the bomb isn't 5 times attack, it is instead less. Now, if you are curious about how bombs work, I did a video a couple of months ago now, I think it was, and I will link that in the description. It is still pretty much relevant. The only major change has been since this release of the Stoneskin set is weaken and strengthen now actually reduce and increase the damage respectively. So if you place a bomb on someone with weaken, they'll take 25% more from the bomb. This didn't used to happen. Otherwise, nothing else has changed with bombs. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to compare all the different bomb effects, and we're going to look to see which ones are actually worth using and to see which one we're going to use in our team. So these are all the champions in the game that currently place a bomb. We've got the big ticket names such as War Mother, Astrolith, Lord Shazar, which would instantly come to mind. We've got the new bomb champion, which is Ordinator, and then there are a couple of other ones. Soul Drinker's a pretty common one. Grunch was added a year ago, and Galka. And what I've done is I've basically pulled out here their affinity, their base attack, what position, what's their bomb multiplier, whether they have a custom one or the default, whether they're single target or AoE, and how many bombs they place, the duration in which they place them, which is important because ultimately if an enemy is taking a turn, they might cleanse the bombs, they could do other things, so the duration of the bombs are important. What's the chance of placing the bomb when booked, and then if we need to reapply the bombs, what cooldowns are we talking about? So notice there is not a single A1 champion, A1 skill in the game on a champion that can place a bomb. So we're immediately forced into almost like a one-hit mentality that if the bomb doesn't kill it, we're probably going to lose. And then we are then talking about a long duration for many of these. So which champion is the hardest hitting bomb? By far, it is War Mother when we talk about a boss. So for an arena, we're not going to be looking at her secondary multiplier. We'll be looking at the 5.5. That is by far the best hitting in terms of damage bomb in the game. That is quite close to Astrolith's damage. Now, Astrolith is probably the best option for PvP. She has the aura as well as Lord Shazar, but her bombs are irresistible. The only problem is it's single target. So you're going to have to like kind of pick and choose your battles here if you were to use Astrolith. We've then got Soul Drinker. Now the problem is his bombs are 3 turns duration. It's going to take a long time for those bombs to go off. You can reduce them by different effects, but he's not exactly going to nuke instantly. And of course he will place bombs on death, but they are a lot weaker. They're only 2.5. And then the 5th best placed one is Shazar. Now Shazar is probably the kind of go-to because he has got the better arena aura, and he also can almost self-sufficient himself. So we're going to look at that as well. But you can see the rest of the champions are really not that strong. You know, we're talking somewhere in the region of 6,500 to 5,000 damage. The damage is important because if we're going to rely on a bomb, it requires so much setup. It's got to do enough damage to basically destroy the enemy team. Now, if it's under Stoneskin, it's not so much of a problem because it's 300%. It could be the weakest bomb in the world and it will probably take down a Stoneskin champion. But we are going to try and build a team here that essentially can manage a scenario where there isn't Stoneskin, because not every champion in the team will have Stoneskin. They'll have 1 or 2 and then the rest will not have Stoneskin. They could have Swift Parry, they could have other things, so we need to factor that in. So really our choices here when we look at the champions available is probably either War Mother, Astrolith or Lord Shazar. The other options are just not good enough. Talia requires Fenax. Treefeller's multiplier is just too low. The Ordinator, the new guy, is just not 100% chance. It's not good enough. Lemore, not 100%. Grunch Killjoy can do turn meter stuff, which is good, and it's a 1-turn bomb, but it's not enough damage. And again, base attack is important here. Bombs are based off attack. 900 base attack is not going to kill anyone. So I'm lucky enough that I have a Lord Shazar. So that's the champion I'll be using. I will see if I can get a copy of this this spreadsheet up onto Google Doc or something and share it as well for those of you who are interested. But this is one of the main problems with bomb champions to start with. Options are very, very limited. So bombs are going to face some issues like everything else in Arena. Firstly, reaction is going to be a problem if your champion that you've chosen, such as Lord Shazar, requires components to critically hit. Reaction will obviously reduce the chance of the critical hit on before the enemy takes a turn. So if you're going second, you don't have to worry about reaction. If you've got a Kaimar, that helps a lot. But you basically have to find a solution to what if the champion's got reaction and I need to crit. Second issue is going to be swift parry. If the team has got a Duchess with swift parry and you put bombs and it triggers swift parry, then she's going to get a revive off because she hasn't died. There isn't really a solution for this in terms of what you can do with bomb champions. You just have to factor in that's a possibility and it might cause you to lose. And then of course you've got Resurgent Mastery. That can remove debuffs if the certain thresholds are met. I think it's the amount of damage taken. So you have to be really careful about your supporting casts if they're going after your bomb champion to make sure that they don't trigger anything that causes the Resurgent to proc and therefore reduce your bomb, and that could effectively cause you to lose. So immediately we've got 3 typical arena meta issues that bombs really struggle against. There isn't a solution for swift parry. Reaction forces you to bring a champion to deal with that, and Resurgent could cause the bombs not to do enough damage. But it doesn't stop there. There are other issues. Cleanse is obviously a problem. So if your bomb is not strong enough to kill the cleanser, someone like a Wither, the Crowned, then she's instantly going to full clean the team and you are back to square one with your bomb champion. Riho Bone Spear can do it as well. There are plenty of other champions out there now that have a full team cleanse or some form of one bomb cleanse or some form of shield or something that can basically stop the bomb from killing you. So it's important that the bomb does enough damage to kill the cleanser. And of course, then you've also got artifact sets such as Untouchable or Immunity. They will provide block debuffs for the champions at the start of a battle. That applies before you take a turn. So you have to bring some form of cleanser as well in case the enemy has block debuffs. Your bombs will not be able to ignore that debuff effectively. So what are the other issues we have as well in terms of making a bomb champion? So, we've got all those issues we need to deal with, but we also need to still make the bomb champion do its job. Well, the first thing is you need attack. Now, by needing attack, it means you have to prioritize stats away from other things such as defense, such as crit rate, such as other things. Now, you can afford to ignore crit damage. You can afford to ignore resistance and health and other things. You don't need the damage from those kind of components. You will need to also take a note of crit rate if your champion needs that to actually apply its debuffs. Shazar is a great example. He needs the crit rate to actually reduce the duration of bombs, so you're going to have to build crit rate into his build. That's going to take stats away from his attack. The other thing about building bombs, which is quite frustrating, masteries, books, critical damage, they don't have any impact at all on the damage, so they're not stats or any benefits to building out bombs. There are other issues as well. You will need accuracy to place those bombs. So if you're going up against a tanky high resist debuff, high resist team, someone like with a Lydia Aura, someone like a Wither with 600 resistance, then your bomb champion is going to need to have high accuracy. That's going to take damage away from your attack, which is going to reduce your bombs. And because of all of these, you're going to be very difficult building a defensive champion. You need attack, you need accuracy, you probably need some level of speed, but you may be able to deal with that, but you will need speed. You may need crit rate. That doesn't leave a lot of space in your build for defense, for any resistance, for any HP. So your likelihood is you're going to build a glass cannon to be able to make the bombs do enough damage to do its job. So, summary, how are we going to build a bomb team? Well, we need a bomb champion. So I'm going to choose Lord Shazar. We need to increase attack in there because we're going to need to increase his attack to a threshold that's going to do enough damage to the enemy. We probably will need weaken because it's unlikely that without that the bomb is going to be sufficiently damaging to take out people in arena. We probably need a buff removal to remove block debuffs on the start, and we probably need some form of way to either explode the bombs if they're a long duration or reduce their duration down to 1 turn. The good thing about bombs is they do go before a champion takes a turn, so if it's at 1 turn it means it will explode and possibly kill them. And then another decision we need to make is, are we going to go first like a speed team, or are we going to try and survive? And the likelihood is you're going to go first. So the team that I have built is the following. We've got Lord Shazar as the leader of the team. He has a 32% speed aura. It is the biggest speed aura in the game, so we can take an advantage. That's a positive from building this team. The next champion I'm going to be using is Lady Kimmy. We said we needed a buff remover. Now what Lady Kimmy is very, very good at, and she's kind of like very difficult to replace in this team, she'll remove 1 random buff, so that deals with block debuffs. She'll then place block buffs, which is good. It means they can't kind of like passively block anything. It's not really important for this team, but it's handy. She then fills turn meters, so that helps with your speed requirements on your bomb champion. But more importantly, she gives you increased accuracy. So that's 50% more accuracy you've got in your build, which means you can lower the accuracy requirements a little bit on your bomb champion. The goal of this is basically how can we remove requirements from the bomb champion so we can focus all of our efforts on creating a lot of damage. So she is she's actually built as my fastest champion. and I have her currently at 354, and I'm expecting to get her to around 360 if I ever get any 6-star speed glyphs. She's at 425 accuracy. I've still got some masteries to grind. Ideally, I'd like to get above 500 if I can. Now, the second champion in this team is Sylar. Sylar here is pretty much just aimed at trying to reduce the speed requirements of my bomb champion. She probably has the best turn meter manipulation out of someone like Lysandra, and I don't really need increased speed in this team because Lady Kimmy's giving that to me as well, which is another benefit. So she's going to drop the turn meter of everyone on the enemy team by 40% and decrease their speed as well by 30%. So a huge turn meter move. It's probably one of the best in the game at doing that. I don't really think there's many champions that actually decrease that much turn meter. I think maybe Vladimir does at 50%. So we're going to use her, and the important thing as well is this doesn't attack, it places. So we're not going to have any risks of Cycle of Violence, Cycle of Revenge, or anything else. Nothing's going to proc. Resurgent can't proc. It's a straight accuracy check. Again, we have her around about 318 speed. She's really fast because obviously we need to match the speed of my team. I need to speed tune it. So at 360, I'm going to need 318 to make sure she goes second. And we have 404 accuracy. But remember, increase accuracy, so that 404 is going to get 50% boosted, so she's actually a lot higher. Now, the champion that everyone's probably looking in this team and thinking, what the hell is it doing there, is Seer. I was looking for a champion not only that could do weaken, but also something else. I originally started the idea of using Visionary as a 15% turn meter boost with an increased crit rate buff to try and help reduce my Shazar's stat gain. What Seer actually is great for here is her A2. She's the only champion in the game that places a crit, places 25% weaken on everyone. And again, it's placing, so we're not attacking, so we're not triggering any enemy masteries. But she also places an increased crit rate. So I'm getting 25% more bomb damage and reducing the stat requirements of my Lord Shazar. And what's quite nice as well is she can also remove any swift parry if you get another turn with her. I've built her literally as a debuffer. I haven't built her for any damage at the moment, although I could do. I've got a 510 accuracy and she's going to be under increased accuracy. So I can literally go back in after a turn and just take away the swift parry buffs and put a sleep on people potentially if the 50% chance procs depending on the buff she takes. So it's kind of like a budget Kaimar A2. And then finally, our bomb champion, Lord Shazar. I have literally tried to push as much attack as I can. Speed tuned to ensure that we don't get cut in. And then 75% crit rate so that we are 100% crit rate. I could drop 5% if I wanted to. You know, this is where you start having conversations of, do I change up the masteries that I've got on him because the build that I've happened to naturalize on has got 5% crit. I don't need that 5%, so I could go into Lord Shazar here and take the 75. Now, I've actually gone, and I haven't got masteries on him here, I'm actually going to go down the accuracy tree for Eagle Eye, because actually the offense tree is kind of useless. So if I did have it there, I would obviously have taken attack. But instead, I'm going to go down the defensive tree to hope that some of those will benefit me. I'm going to take as much of these stats down here. So Laura Steel, I've got Cruel sets, that'll give me more attack. I can take Eagle Eye to basically reduce my accuracy benefit. So in the end, once I've built all his masteries, he should be around about 400 accuracy with a good amount of attack. We're probably nearing 6,800 by the time Laura Steel comes on. I've got double Cruel here. Now, generally you don't auto arena, but if you did want to be doing so, the way I've set this up is Kimmy's going to go first. She's going to do her A3. Then I've got Sylar going and doing her A3. Then Seer's going to do her A2. And then Shazar is going to do his A2 into A3. Now, the great thing about Shazar is he will place his own attack buff that can't be removed, which is great. It means you don't need to run Arbiter as your leader, and it opens up the flexibility of this team. There are some options you can do to substitute champions. Kaimar would obviously be a very good option. You wouldn't need as much speed with Kaimar because he will sleep, gives you a chance to get rid of reaction, and it means you can almost not have a fully speed-tuned team. I unfortunately don't have a Kaimar, even though I went for him from the ×10, so I can't use that option. But it is an option you can consider, is to basically control the champions into a bomb if you've fully removed all the buffs, which obviously Kaimar does. So let's take this into some teams and let's see how it works. So I'm going to play it into this team first. This is kind of like what I would call a typical Gold 4 team. You've got boost into control, into debuff removal, into best nuker in the game. Now, it'll be interesting to see whether Ceres was due to take a turn before the Umbral, because otherwise I could be blocking it with block debuffs. So let's take a go. Now, I'm going to take it off auto. So we are faster here. So again, the auto route here is we're going to do A3. Now I could, if I wanted to use A2, so that I could decrease their speed and their turn meter, but I actually want the buffs. I need the buffs. So I'll always almost do A3 here, even if there are no debuffs out. We're going to drop their turn meter. We're then going to put weaken and crit rate out. And then we're going to take A2. And now we are at the best we can. So he's got increased attack. He's got increased crit rate, increased accuracy. Now the problem obviously we're going to have is affinity. He is spirit, which is not ideal, and we'll just have to pray that we don't get resisted here. Right, there we go. So the job is done now. He could die. Everyone is going to pop eventually. I mean, Kimmy has a habit of just stealing turn meter all the time, and it's a win. So that's a team. Now, what I want to try and do is I'm going to try a couple of other teams. These are all speed teams. As long as I go first here, I'm going to win. But you could easily argue, as long as you go first, you could win with any team. In these scenarios, these teams are not set up to survive. Now you did notice we had a weak hit there on Trunder, so we're gonna have to try and finish off Trunder, and this is where the Seer is actually kind of useful. If I was to build my Seer a little bit more damaging, she could form as almost like a secondary damage dealer whilst also being a debuffer. We can try this team here. I think the Torment is going to be a bit of a problem. I think it's going to probably give me a freeze as soon as I do the A2, so we need to remove the buff. I got a feeling this is going to freeze me. Oh, I got lucky. Okay, so we got lucky here. And again, we're going to see now the damage. So we've got pretty much... It would be interesting to see if we can kill Lydia. Oh, we were close. But it's good it's that close, because if she's going to debuff, Seer is there to help finish it off. Now, obviously, Torment is going to revive, so we're going to need to probably manual the last bits, otherwise it's perma-freeze. Which is the fun thing about Torment. But hopefully now we should just be able to end this battle. We just about got there before everyone died. So at the moment I have fallen down a little bit into gold 4. So let's try and see, like obviously Hegemon, you can't run this team into Hegemons. It's just going to die because you're going to get block active skills. You haven't got block debuffs. So instantly we're kind of like, this isn't a team designed to counter those. But certainly against these type of teams. Now, this is probably going to be a problem because of Skullcrown. She's going to have that unkillable built in. And you're going to see, like, we can almost simulate what happens with Swift Parry here. You can see my Kimmy's not quite enough accuracy. We are going to put that out, which is great. Everyone's out here now. This is the normal situation you're going to have with Swift Parry. She's procced that unkillable now. And unless we get lucky in the sense, well, unless Seer had lived, obviously she's only level 1, we wouldn't be able to strip this debuff. We also only landed one bomb onto the Krisk here. So that's a loss because effectively that was Swift Parry. And even if we run that again, it's probably going to be the same outcome I would have thought. So we're going to just set this up again. So Kimmy didn't resist this time on the Skullcrown, but I think we're still going to have the same problems. Now, obviously you can manual some of these a little bit to basically not constantly keep hitting. But eventually you get to the position where you've got to take damage. So we're going to hold the A3. I think it autoed last time. We're just going to see if we can get the bombs to trigger. Right, Krisk is down. What about Skullcrown? Okay, so it looks like actually I managed to get block buffs out on the Skullcrown that time. So the last battle I must have procced Resurgent. So you can see actually the real value of Kimmy here with these block buffs. It does help deal with the Swift Parry at least a little bit. Let's throw it into this team. I'm actually doing better than I did in my play testing a few hours ago when I was testing this all out. So again, the block buffs are actually it's just clocking to me that the block buffs are up. This is the thing about when you build these teams. You don't really think about everything that they can do, but this is actually going to stop the Swift Parry. So the only thing really that we're going to have a problem here is if Resurgent procs takes the block buff, or if Reaction doesn't make his bombs trigger instantly, and then we've got a cleanse. But these aren't high-end teams right now that we're fighting. We're fighting the right type of teams, but the gear is nowhere near. Right, so we've missed some. I really need to improve the accuracy on my Lady Kimmy. So not good enough. And it's kind of crazy how fast she is. But you probably need the accuracy on top. But the team is working really nice. It's a really smooth team. This is probably quite a high-end build for Shazar. 7,000 attack nearly is quite substantial. But again, I'm diluting the amount of stats I need by having increased accuracy, increased speed, increased crit rate. These things are all helping to reduce what he needs to be able to stay in tune. Now, the nice thing about fighting teams with Candrathon is his passive will not stop the bombs doing damage. Let's take a look at this team here. This is interesting. Now, Morley will obviously do the 15% turn meter boost, so it could break my tune when we attack with Shazar, and that could be a problem. But because we've got 3 placement skills, we're not actually triggering her passive at all until we actually hit. That's what's nice about this. So that's triggered. So you notice there was a reaction proc, which means that the 2 bombs didn't actually crit, which means now that Morley is going to have a chance to survive and revive. So this is where now it gets a little bit tricky. Can we kill the Arbiter before she takes a turn to revive? No. So now we're in this position of we've got to hope that there's enough damage within the rest of the team, and there probably is not. And we've lost. So this is the problem with the different mechanics of bombs. It's not going to, essentially, it's not going to block the revive. And Trunda comes in. But you could easily just run it back again. I would imagine if I ran this back again, I didn't get the resurgent, the reaction proc on Morley. It lands the critical hit. We're probably okay. Alright, she's got triple reaction. There we go. Look at this, and we weak hit the Trunda as well. So this is looking a bit doomed. We can take those buffs to sleep, but it's not going to make a difference, I think. There we go. So that's some of the issues that you see here. So that one team, even though we don't trigger the Morley, is still a problem because of reaction. So you would need someone to almost sleep them to make them take a turn. A Kaimar would be perfect in that scenario. What about a Necret team? The Necret is pretty dominant at the moment in arena defense. How does it cope with this? So obviously there is block buffs up. Now we weren't fastest here, which is a problem. So in this instance, we're probably going to have to tweak it a little bit. And we're going to have to try and strip the buffs so that we can actually place our bombs. But now we haven't got the crit rate, so there's a chance that we don't crit. I think we were okay. But again, like, he's so dominant, he's basically blocking everything. The Trunda's down. So the question is now, can we kill the Arbiter before she gets a revive off? I imagine not, because of the Necret keeping her alive. Alright, Necret. And I think we are pretty much done here. So in this team we've got Rotus. Now Rotus normally is a bit of a problem for Arena because you obviously can't 100% him from one hit, you have to hit him twice. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not the bombs here will actually deal with that passive. Now theoretically at place 2 it should result, and we've got our first Stoneskin. This is good, which is a great test now for us to see the impact of Stoneskin. I'm going to actually take this off auto so we can see the damage. We weak hit 78,000 off one bomb. So you can see like the point of Stoneskin and the bomb counter works. The problem is it prevalent enough right now for it to be a suitable strategy, considering we're in this position now where Rotus didn't get bombs, Kaimar didn't get bombs, and Rotus is about to go absolutely ham and just start one-shotting my team, which means it's pretty much over at this point, even though we've managed to kill off their 2 supporting champions. This is just an affinity issue rather than a bomb issue. But until we have a void bomb champion, there's not much option we can do here, so that's another loss. And you will find, like, if we look quickly at this list, how many are magic based, Trunda's magic, all the main damage dealers, Kaimar's magic, Kimmy's magic. That is a bit of a concern with Shazar. Astrolith, I think, is also spirit affinity as well, so you're going to face the same issues. See if we have one more different type of team that we can test this with. This looks like a good option. Again, I'm going first in all these team comps. If I go second, this team instantly loses, but that is the same for pretty much any speed team. And bombs are out, everyone's gone, so this should be a win. Everyone should die in one shot. One. Beautiful. So one other thing I did is I thought, just for the purpose of this video, and just to see if people are going to meme on the fact I got a level 1 5-star Seer, put it into defense and see how it actually does. So we've got some teams here, and actually it's been performing pretty good for gold. It's not terrible. We've got some wins here. We've got, obviously we're losing to Hegemons, that makes sense. We'll probably lose to a Leorius because it's got built-in swift parry unless we've blocked that buff. We beat the Skull Crown here, probably because Kimmy was fastest. So you can pretty much see, as long as it's not a Hegemon, as long as we go first, it's probably going to win. So it's strong. It's not terrible. Is it going to be able to beat these types of teams in top-end arena? I probably, if I was to be a betting man, would say no, because there is just far too much stat requirements, far too many different things that can cause problems. So there you have it, guys. That's a Build Your Bomb team. It was pretty much a fun experiment for me to see if I could actually build a team. And I'm still on the fence as to whether it's going to be strong enough to be one of my main teams. But I'm actually going to work a bit on Seer and see how she actually works. I actually think she's actually really good as a support bomb champion now. Increased crit rate, weaken, buff strip. There's utility there outside of just her being the best champion for PvE dungeon clearing. And yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Next week I'll probably be doing a video on Bestophus, but we're also approaching patch window as well in a couple of weeks time, so there'll probably be a patch notes video coming out in the next couple of weeks, and I'll catch you in the next video.